So I want to welcome everybody to today's beginner yoga class. My name is Coach Mary. I appreciate you all taking some time to be here. Again, this is a beginner level class. So if you are new to yoga, I don't want you to be nervous. There are many rewards that can come out of a good yoga practice. And if you're a seasoned yogi, I welcome you and appreciate you for coming and checking out a new class. All right. So with that being said, a couple of materials you guys are going to need for class today. A mat. If you don't have a mat, a blanket or a towel will also work. Just something so that you can have cushion for being on the floor, as well as just support for your hands and for your feet. And then we'll also be using a strap for today's class. If you don't have a strap, don't stress about it. You can also use a couple of household objects like a belt. You can also use a towel or a t-shirt or something else that is just long that you can use for assistance in some of our stretches today. All right, so today's focus is going to be lower body. I did get my COVID vaccine yesterday, so my arm is a little sore. So we're going to be working on some hip openers in class today, and I hope that you guys are looking forward to that in the same way I am. So I would like you to go ahead and come to your mat in a seated position with your legs crossed. I'm going to go ahead and back up and come up to my screen. Over to my mat now. Perfect. Make sure that I have my strap with me. There we go. All right, so I'm going to sit with my legs crossed. For now, I'm sitting with my right leg crossed in front of my left leg. It does not matter where you are crossed. We're just going to get some movement into our hips to help warm us up. And then we'll do a couple of our slower stretches. So first, I'd like you to sit up nice and tall. You should be able to feel both of your hip bones down on the mat, down on the floor. So if you need to shift side to side and just kind of pull the muscle, pull the skin away, so that way we have a stronger connection there. And first, we're going to start off nice and easy with just some awareness and comfort here. So let's go ahead and close our eyes and just take a couple of deep breaths in and out. Again, today's focus is going to be on our hips, our legs, our lower part of the body. So let's think about sending some of the air down into our legs, even though they're crossed at the moment, sending some air down into your pelvis, which is your hip bones, across your lower back and your lower abdomen as well. Good. All right. If your eyes are closed, you can go ahead and open them. I'd like you to start to tilt your weight over into your right sit bone and then shift your weight forward, over to the left, and then back behind you. So I want you to continue around those 4 points. And then when you're ready, we can begin to smooth out those corners and make it a more circular, a more dynamic kind of movement. You can make these circles as large or as small as you'd like. You can take them as fast or as slow as you'd like. This is all about you and how your body is feeling today. Maybe you did class yesterday and you're feeling a little sore, or maybe you've just been kind of tight from sitting at your desk all day long. Whatever the case may be, we're just going to take it at your own pace today. When you're ready and you come back to an upright position again, we're going to take it in the opposite direction. So now shifting over to the left, forward, right, and back. So again, just continuing with that circular pattern. And if you find as you're going around that path that you feel that your body needs a little bit more time in a particular area, so if you're leaning forward or back and you just find a spot that's really sticky and juicy, feel free to hold that right there and just breathe a couple of times into it as well. Good. 1 or 2 more passes around. And then coming back to an upright and seated position, let's go ahead and change the crossing of your legs. So all that means is we're just going to take the opposite leg and bring it out in front. So for me, my left leg is now in front. My right leg is tucked underneath. And we're going to do both directions again with just those hip circles, just warming up through our lower spine, warming up through our pelvis, working up through our hip and our thigh joints. Just a couple of passes around, and then when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and move it in the opposite direction. Good. And again, we're working on hip openers today. So every yoga practice is slightly different. So if you have been practicing yoga before and you just feel that things aren't quite the way that you're used to, I promise you to just stay with it. Every practice doesn't have to follow a set routine. We can absolutely mix things up according to what our bodies need throughout the day. All right, coming back to an upright position. Hopefully you've done both directions with the legs crossed. From here, I'm going to invite you to take the legs out now. We're going to uncross the legs. I want you to keep your knees bent, but move your feet a little bit wider, so outside of shoulder distance. For better support, we're going to take our hands and place them behind us so you can lean back a little bit into your hands. Now we're going to take some movement into the actual hip joint itself. We're going to take the knees and gently drop them over towards one side of your mat, and then come back through the center and drop them over to the other side of the mat. So we're going to continue in this kind of windshield wiper pattern for just a couple of passes. And now your knees may or may not touch down, and that's perfectly okay here. A lot of it is just determined by how our bodies are built, as well as our strength and our mobility. Good. A couple more times, left and right. So this type of movement here, we call this flossing. And so this helps with rotation of our thigh bone in our hip socket, which is very important for almost everything we do. Walking, sitting, standing, climbing, even squatting, lunging, stuff like that. All has a little bit of hip rotation. All right. So now we're going to come back up and into the center. I want you to straighten out those legs this time. Again, feet are nice and wide. We call this a straddle position here. How wide you set your straddle, again, just depends on how your body is built and how comfortable you feel with opening up through the hips and through the thighs. If you're a little sore like I am, this is probably where I'm going to stay right here for today. And then maybe as we warm up and get moving, it will feel a little bit more open and accessible. So we're going to continue just like we did with our legs crossed, but now that our hips are nice and open, I want you to, again, start to circle your upper torso around in either a clockwise or a counterclockwise movement. So now we're getting a little bit more into the inner thigh and the groin versus the outer hip and outer thigh when we were sitting with our legs crossed. The movement here might not be as large as when you were seated with your legs crossed, and that's okay. If you haven't already, I want you to go ahead and change directions with your circles and moving it around. Good. Take a couple of nice deep breaths as we're moving as well. Good. One or two more passes. This feels particularly good on my lower back. Hopefully you guys are feeling a nice kind of stretch everywhere as well. Good. Let's come back up into the center. Let's take the legs. We're going to cross them again. You may cross however you'd like. Right over left, left over right. Good. We're going to take a nice deep breath in, reach that right arm up towards the sky. And then on the exhale, we're going to gently lean over towards the left side of your mat. Now, as we lean over, I want you to think about your right hip. And I want you to really anchor that right hip down into the floor. So as we start to shift laterally or to the side, the body tends to want to go in that same direction. So if you feel that right hip starting to lift off, just maybe put a little bit of pressure back into that hip, really anchor down. So pushing down through the right hip and then reaching out through the right arm, creating tension in opposite directions to really stretch out here. Good, and then back into the center, left side, same thing. The left arm is going to come up, the right over to the right side this time. Once again, with that left hip, we want to find that same anchor point here. Hmm. Nice deep breath into the side body, into the ribs, side of the waist. Good. Back into the center. Let's take the legs and cross them out into straddle position again. Again, opening up just through the inside and through the outside of the hips, alternating to just get some movement here. Let's take a nice deep breath in, stretch both of your arms forward and up. And then on the exhale, I want you to just gently place your fingertips out in front of you. This does not have to be a deep fold here. Again, my fingers are only just past my knees. And if your fingers don't reach that far, that's okay too. Maybe you might do better with your hands behind you, so that way you can have just a little push. But thinking about leading with the chest and not so much collapsing through the rounding of the shoulders here. Good, let's walk our hands back up. Take a nice deep breath in again. This time let's rotate the chest towards the left leg and then drop those hands once again on either side of that left leg here. Maybe you find that you go a little bit further this time, taking the legs wider, and then also doing the legs one at a time can also help. Good. Let's walk it back in. Arms, again, inhale, arms up overhead, and then we rotate towards the right leg. Exhale to set those fingers down once again. Walking the hands back and up and again. This time we're going to take the legs into a new position. So we call this a 90-90 or a shin box position. So if you listen to my voice, or you can watch on my screen, let's take the left leg. You're going to bring the left leg so that the bottom of the foot is on the inside of your right inner thigh. And then we're going to take the right leg. That right leg, we're going to rotate it around behind us and pull that right foot back towards our hip bone, our right hip bone here. So we essentially have the front leg, the left leg is in an externally rotated position, and then the right leg, which is the back leg, is in an internally rotated position. We're going to be here for a while. So if you feel that this is not a comfortable position for you, feel free to switch it up, and you can just take that right leg and pop it back out as needed, or you can just leave it there the entire time. It's completely up to you here. All right. I want you to take a nice deep breath in. We're going to stretch both arms up overhead, and then exhale. I want you to take the arms just simply forward. You know, a lot of times in a variation, a lot of people like to go towards that left leg, and we are going to go there, but first I want you to just take it in a forward direction. I want you to also pay attention to how this compares to our straddle position. So when we were forward folding with our straddle or our legs out wide, do you feel that you have about the same or a little bit more than you did previously? Excellent. Walk the hands back up and in. Let's inhale, take the arms up overhead. This time I'm going to allow you to rotate your chest and torso towards that left knee. Set those arms down. And we're going to do this one in a more dynamic position flow first, and then we'll finish with a static stretch or holding. So I would like you to take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, I want you to allow yourself to bring the torso and the chest closer towards the floor, closer towards the knee. Good. Inhale, I want you to push away, come back upright. Exhale, come closer to the floor. Inhale, come away from the floor. We'll do that 3 more times. Exhale, come closer to the floor. Inhale, come away from the floor. Exhale, come closer to the floor. Inhale, away. We'll do this 1 more time. Exhale, come closer. And this time we're going to hold it here. So if it's more comfortable for you to move your arms further out, feel free to adjust the arms as needed here. If you need the arms in a little bit closer, or if you need to just come out of the stretch, that's totally fine too. We're going to stay here for 5 breaths. So take a nice deep breath in. Exhale out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. And 1 more. Let's gently walk the hands back up and in and support the torso. If at this point you need to give yourself a break from this position, feel free to move your legs around. If you need to untuck that right leg, feel free to do so. And then when you're ready, just join us back in this same position. Left leg in front, right leg behind us. Good. Now we're going to work on the right leg, the rear leg. We're going to take the hands behind us. And just like we do with our windshield wipers, we're going to just lean back a little bit into our hands. So what this does is reclining the torso, it starts to open up that right outer thigh and up into the higher hip, what we call our hip flexors. And a lot of people do feel this stretch right away. Maybe you have really good range of motion through your hips and you need a little bit more. So if you need a little bit more here, just like we did with the left leg, your next step is to just take your torso closer to the floor. Now keep in mind, if you are flexible enough to take yourself to the floor, you also need to be strong enough to pull yourself out of that position, okay? We don't want to get ourselves stuck in a position that we can't get out of. So an easy way to just progress to it is that, we start while reclining and maybe you go back a little bit further. And then maybe one day you decide you want to come down to one elbow. So maybe that left elbow drops down and you go a little bit further. And then maybe eventually the right elbow drops down and you practice at the elbows for a little bit. And then eventually it'll go flat. But if you're also upright and here with me, this is a completely fine situation as well too. Let's take one more deep breath in and a nice exhale out. All right, if you made it down to the floor, please go ahead and make your way back up. This time, everyone, we're just going to go ahead and shift ourselves forward. Let's all take the right leg, untuck it now, and just stretch that right leg out in front of you. Let's keep the left leg right where it is. If you need a break and just need to stretch or get some feeling back into your leg, feel free to move that left leg around as much as you need to. All right, we're going to go for 2 stretches here in this position, and then we'll revisit the shin box with the opposite orientation. So we're going to do first a lower back stretch, and then we'll focus on the hamstring stretch for the right leg. All right. So first, I'd like you to begin by rotating your torso towards your left knee. So rotating your torso away from that left leg is what's going to help us really get into the lower back on the left side. If it helps for you, you can place your right hand along the inside of your leg. So that way you have almost something to push against to help you open up and rotate that chest away here. So again, keeping your gaze out over in the direction of that left knee. I want you to inhale and take the left arm up and overhead. And then you can eventually, if it feels comfortable here, slide that right arm further and bring that left arm further over towards that foot. If you need to stay up a little bit higher, or if you have any shoulder or neck issues and just want to leave the arm out of this stretch, you can just set that hand right across the lower back here. I want you to take a couple of more breaths. Really breathe into the lower back on that left side here. Good. Let's go ahead and come back to an upright position now. If you need to roll out your shoulders, again, if you need to move the legs, move the legs. Otherwise, come right back in. This time, let's reorient ourselves. Rotate the chest towards the right leg this time, the outstretched leg. Let's inhale, take the arms up overhead, getting a nice tall spine. And then on the exhale, let's forward fold towards that right leg. Good. So these folding positions here, as you can feel a lot of, is really getting us an opening through the back side of the body. And especially here with the hamstring stretch, getting into the back of the thigh a little bit more. We will do some opening for the front side of the body, so don't worry. I know a lot of people have tightness on the front side, but also experience pain on the back side, which is why we're just spending a lot of time here on the floor at the moment. We will move positions. All right, let's go ahead and walk ourselves back up. Let's come back to shin box. So we're going to start in the straddle first. If you need to roll out your legs, move them side to side. This time we're going to take the right leg. The right leg is going to come to the inside of that left thigh. The left leg is the one that's going to tuck behind us. And again, if you would prefer to leave that leg out in front of you, that's completely fine as well. All right, we've got our three-way stretch here. We're going to start with the forward direction, and then we'll move to the right leg, and then we'll focus on the left leg or the leg tucked behind you. Let's inhale, take the arms up overhead nice and tall, and then exhale, we just take it forward. So fingertips are going to go right out in front of you. Again, we're not focusing out towards the right side. So if it feels a little bit tight, don't worry. You will get the opportunity to open up here. Take another deep breath in and an exhale out. Let's walk the hands back up and in. If at any time, again, you need to move that tucked leg, feel free to move it. When you're ready, inhale, take the arms up overhead again. Rotate the torso and chest towards that right leg, setting the hands down on either side of that knee here. And remember, we start this one out more dynamic and then finish with a hold. So take a nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, you can gently pull your chest closer towards your knee or the floor. And then inhale, let's back off of the stretch. Exhale to come closer. Inhale to back off. Exhale to come closer. Inhale to back off. 2 more times. Exhale to come closer. Inhale to back off. And the last one here, exhale to come closer. And then inhale, back off. Good. One more time. Let's take it down. And this time you're going to hold this position where it's comfortable for you. If you need to adjust your arms, feel free to do so. If you need to adjust the back leg, feel free to do so. Good. Let's take one more deep breath in. And a nice long exhale out. Walking the hands back up and again. This time we'll focus on that back leg. So taking the hands behind us, setting ourselves up for the recline here. Good. And as before, you can take it wherever you feel comfortable. The way you can progress from here is just to recline further. And then you can work down to your elbows and then completely flat. Or you can stay upright wherever it's comfortable for you today. Good, just breathe into it. If you do feel like you're going to cramp up, just come up out of your recline. I know that can sometimes happen when we try to put ourselves in a position that we're not accustomed to right away. Sometimes the muscles can cramp up just trying to hold it. So if you feel like a cramp is coming on, which can sometimes happen in this stretch in particular, just come up out of the recline. All right. All together, we'll come all the way upright. So if you're on the floor, please make your way back up. And this time we're going to take that left leg and stretch it out in front of us. Good. You guys are doing a great job here. I know it can be a little rough sitting on the floor for such a long period of time. We have these last 2 stretches here, and then we'll move over and try some downward dog and as well as some hip opening from the front side of the body rather than the back side. All right, so let's start with the lower back stretch first. So now we're going to focus on the right side. So to do that, we need to rotate our chest towards the right knee. That left hand, again, is going to go somewhere along the inside of the leg with the back of the hand facing that leg. So my palm is open up. And again, this is just to have some support to help remind me to open up my chest here. If you are having neck or shoulder issues, you can just take that right hand and place it along the back of the hip or across your lower spine. If you don't have any issues here, you can inhale, take that right arm up and over, and you can just continue following that trajectory as far as it feels comfortable. Again, we want the gaze to stay in the direction of the right knee. So if you find yourself drifting towards the left leg, I just want you to reorient yourself. One more deep breath in. Exhale out. Good. Come on all the way back up. Begin to roll out your shoulders, roll out your legs. From here, we're going to move on to an all fours position on hands and knees. So let's go ahead and change our position now. It'll probably feel good to get up off of the floor for a bit. So hands and knees. My hands are in contact with the mat as well as my knees. My shoulders for right now are stacked over my elbows, stacked over my wrist. My knees are generally lined up underneath of my hips. Some people might go further back depending on how your torso, your hips, and your thighs are connected. Good. And then from here, we're just going to take it into a couple of easy stretches. We'll start with a nice child's pose. So I want you to sit your hips back towards your heels, and then take the arms and one at a time, stretch them closer towards the front of your mat. Now this is going to pull your chest and your stomach closer towards your thighs. If you find that to be a little uncomfortable, here's my suggestion for you, is that you're going to take your knees and you're going to open your knees out wider to the edges of your mat. So this will now clear a space for your tummy to come down closer to the mat. A lot of people find this variation more comfortable, but I want you to do whatever suits you. Take one more deep breath in. And a nice exhale out. Let's go ahead and walk the hands back in. Come back to all fours. So take your hips away from your heels. And we're going to make our way into first a tall kneel and then a half kneel position. So for the tall kneel, we're going to take our hands, we're going to release them from the floor and just come to an upright torso position. From here, I'm going to work my left leg out in front, so that way you guys can see on my right side here what's happening through my hips. So this is our half kneel position. So half kneel means that one knee is down, the other knee can be in a different position here. And you might feel a little wobbly when you come up to the half kneel position. So if you'd like to have a chair or something close by to help keep you upright, feel free to do so. I frequently will rotate towards the camera. So if you have the camera in a different position, just be mindful and stay with me here. All right. So first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we square up to the front of the mat. This will help keep us stable throughout our being in this position, excuse me. So I want you to take your hands now, and I want you to line up your hands along your hip bones with your fingertips pointing out towards the front of the mat. So this is just a good guide, a good marker to see where your hips are pointing. So if I look down, for me, my hips are kind of pointing out to the right corner of my mat. So I want to fix that and rotate my hips so that they are now facing towards the true front edge of my mat here. So I want you to find that point first. And then when you're ready, we're going to start to shift our weight forward. So shifting more weight onto the left leg, the front leg, creating a nice opening and an angle for the right leg, the knee that's down. And then we're going to press off and come back to start. Again, we're going to take it forward and then press back. So I want you to just repeat this movement a couple of times. So this transition forward and this transition back. Think of it as when we were on the mat earlier, we did a couple of dynamic things to help open us up. And then we could move into those more static things where we're holding everything still. Good. So now we're going to take it down a little bit further if you'd like. So if you have a lot of flexibility in your hips, you have lots of options for progressing here. Or if you just like the feeling of the upright position here, you're more than welcome to stay right here. It might vary depending on the day or depending on which side you're working on first. I know that for me, this is going to be my better side first, and it's going to be tighter on my other side. So just know what you're working with when you're working opposite sides. All right, so we're squared up to the front of the mat. We're going to shift forward. You can stay here with your hands on your thigh for support, or you can start to work your hands down towards the floor on the inside of that left leg. So turning this more into what we call lizard pose here. If you find that it feels a little tight, or if you find that you can't regulate your breathing, if it feels difficult to get that full inhale, full exhale, those are generally signs that we want to back off because we're not quite ready for that amount of stretch yet. So for me today, I'm going to come back to an upright position because lizard was feeling a little tight. I'm sure if I stretched a little bit more, it could get there, but for now, I'm just going to hold the half kneeling position. 2 more deep breaths in. Good. And then when you're ready, if you're on the floor, make your way back up. We'll all come back to tall kneel, so both knees down, and then we'll come back into a child's pose to give yourself a little bit of a break here. Remember, you can take the knees wide if that feels good for you. Or if you'd like to use this time to grab some water, you're more than welcome to do that as well. We're going to repeat on the other side, and then we'll make our way onto our backs. We'll finish out with the strap, just a couple of easy, gentle leg stretches, and then we'll finish class with our meditation or our shavasana. So when you're ready, let's come back up to tall kneel. This time we're going to work the right leg out in front for the half kneel base. Again, if it helps you, place those hands on your hips with your fingers pointing forward. So that way you can make sure hips are squared to the front of the mat. We'll start with the kind of flowing movement first of shifting your weight forward and then coming out of that position to gently just prep the left hip now for opening. Since we were in the kneeling position on the other side, we were in the kind of lunge position on the other side, that can tighten up the front of the hip. So we just want to give it an opportunity to relax, settle and open. And then when you feel ready, you can start to make your way down to lizard if you would like to try that. You can also move your right foot a little bit wider to make room for your hands. I'm going to give it a go and see how it feels today. This is not my better side, and I can already feel, for me, this is a little tight. So I'm probably going to stay back upright with my hands on my thigh and just focusing on my breath. So we encourage hands on the thigh for balance. If you feel good in the half kneeling stretch and you would like to challenge yourself a little bit more, but maybe not going down to the floor, you can also take your arms up overhead. If you start to reach up and then slightly back, you can also create a deeper stretch for that hip as well. These are just some of the different options. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Sometimes just moving your body in a different way feels good. All right, let's go ahead and make our way back down. Come back to tall kneel. And then from here, I want you to just sit your hips down on your mat, and we're going to sweep the legs out in front. So I'd like you to make your way to about the halfway position on your mat, just so that when we lay down, you're all the way on your mat. Knees are bent. Hands, I'm going to lock them on the back of my thighs for support and gently lower myself down to the floor. Before you lower down, make sure that you have your strap handy. I apologize, I should have said that first. Whatever implement you're going to use for a strap, feel free to grab that. Or if you don't have a strap, don't worry about it. You can still do all of these wonderful stretches. So if you have your strap, I'd like you to begin by unraveling whatever object it is. Right knee is going to come in towards the chest, and I'm going to loop my strap around the bottom of my right knee. From here, straightening out that right leg, I can now open the leg up fully and get a stretch on the side, which we call the hamstrings. If you don't have a strap, you can simply just place your hands on the back of your thigh to help kind of hold it in place. And it'll be a little bit more active because you'll need to engage your quads to help straighten out that leg here. So take a couple of breaths. If this feels good here and you would like a little bit more, you can take that left leg and allow it to straighten out. If you're working with a strap or an object that's a little bit shorter, just try to find a place where you can release your head all the way down. Even if you have to prop like a pillow or something underneath of it, it is good for the head and neck so that it can just relax rather than trying to pull yourself and support and strain the neck here. There are times when we want to do those movements with the neck, but that's not our focus for today. Good. All right. When you're ready, I want you to take your strap. You're going to place your strap in your left hand. So remember, I have my strap around my right foot. I'm going to place it in my left hand. And then from here, I want you to allow that right leg to drift open to the right edge of your mat. So your left arm is going to provide the support that you need to help give you that range of movement here. If you are working without a strap here, your alternative is that you're going to bend your right knee. Hand is going to go on top, and then with your right hand, you're just going to guide that right knee out and open to the side. So the strap only just gives us the ability to really support with a longer leg, but we can do all of these stretches without a strap. Good. When you're ready, pull into it, bring that leg back up. We're going to switch sides. This time we're moving into that left leg. Again, if you don't have a strap, just place your hands on the back of the thigh. It will work just fine. Make sure the head and the neck is relaxed. And then if it's comfortable, you can straighten that right leg out. When you're ready, we'll do the opening stretch now. So again, if the strap is around my left foot, I'm going to place the straps in my right hand. So that way I have the most amount of movement and support. Good. I'm dropping my leg out just to where I feel a stretch. I'm not necessarily trying to drop it and hover it over the floor because I want the leg to fully relax. I'm not trying to actively engage that leg. Once again, the alternative, if you don't have a strap here, is just to take the left hand, place it on that left knee, and just gently guide the thigh open. It's the exact same stretch here. In fact, maybe a little bit easier if you find the one with the long leg to be too much. Good. Let's bring the left leg back and in. Go ahead and stretch both legs out here. This will be our last little bit of relaxation. I apologize, we're running behind on time here. I want you to go ahead and just lie still and close your eyes. I want you to listen to the sound of my voice while I guide you through the breath. So I want you to inhale and feel the breath move in through your nostrils, through the nasal cavity, at the back of the throat, down the windpipe, into the lungs, out into the ribs, down into the tummy, into the diaphragm. Holding that breath for just a moment. And then releasing that breath, feeling it on the way out. Feeling the diaphragm pulling up and in, feeling the rib cage collapsing in, the lungs starting to shrivel up and get smaller. The windpipe as well contracting to help push the air back up. And then the feeling of that warm, quick air coming out through the nostrils. On your own, I'd like you to take 5 more breaths, and then we'll bring this practice to a close. You are more than welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. When you're ready, I'd like you to bend your knees, set your feet flat on the mat, open your eyes, guide your knees in towards your chest, hug them in, and then from here you can do a quick either tuck and roll to come up, or you can roll onto your side and press up. Go ahead and sit cross-legged, and we'll close out class for today, right on time at 12:45. All right, legs crossed, bring the palms together, take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, gently bow the head. At the end of the class, we close out and we say namaste. It's thankfully a prayer of gratitude, so thanking your body for what it's capable of, respecting yourself for recognizing the needs that you have, and then also a gratitude from me, the teacher, to you, the student. So thank you all and have a great day, and we'll see you next time.